Good evening and welcome to the South Burlington Development Review Board for Tuesday, June 4th. My name is Dawn Philibert. I'm the chair of the board, and I'd like to introduce the other members of the board. Mark Baer, Charlie Johnston, Stephanie Wyman, Frank Kochman, Quinn Mann, John Moscatelli, and to my right, our staff, Marty Gillies and I'm blocking on your first name. Marla Keene, thank you. This meeting is being recorded. So there's a couple of ways to participate. There are those of you in the auditorium who are here, and there are people who can attend virtually online, and people can also call in. If you're here in the audience, it's important that you sign in on the sign-up sheet out back to indicate that you're a participant in these hearings. And if you're online, please send us your contact information via the chat box to register your participation. And if you're calling in, if you could please send your contact information to Marla at mkeene@southburlingtonvt.gov. Again, that's to register your participation. Okay, let's start with emergency evacuation procedures. There are doors in the back corner on both sides of the auditorium. In the event of an emergency, you would exit those doors and either turn right or left to be outside. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes in the order of agenda items? Hearing none. Are there any announcements or reminders?
Dawn, I'd like to just announce so that people online who aren't here in person understand what's going on. Our monitors aren't working, so board members are signing in person, and people who are participating in the audience don't have a visual. So there's going to be a little bit of like talking through what's going on, a little bit more than usual. So just know to expect that.
And that's going to be for the whole meeting. It won't be fixed.
Yes.
Okay. Is it being recorded?
Being recorded,
Okay.
and everything that's being shown in the Zoom meeting is being recorded as well.
Okay, good, thanks. I do have an announcement. One of our valued board members, Stephanie Wyman, is up for reappointment and has chosen to not reapply to serve another term for good reasons. And I just want to acknowledge her contribution over the last 3 years. Is it, Stephanie? And it's been great to have you as a civil engineer on the board, and we will miss your participation and wish you all the best. And we are in the process of recruiting. The city council is in the process of recruiting another DRB member. So if you watch this and it's riveting and you want to be part of the action, please contact City Council, Jesse Baker's office, call Marla.
Sure. It's actually, there's a little pop-up on our homepage, sbvt.gov right now, that says, are you interested in volunteering? So you can just click the pop-up and offer to volunteer.
Great. Okay. Are there any comments and questions from the public that are not related to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move ahead to our agenda items. We are not taking up agenda items 5 and 6 because the applications have been withdrawn. Number 7, agenda item number 7, miscellaneous application MS 2401 of AAM Burlington Hotel for alternative entrance compliance as allowed under the Land Development Regulations, Section 8.06H for a 4-story wing for an existing hotel and conference center at 870 Williston Road. Are there any disclosures or recusals? Hearing none, Who is here for the applicant, please? What are your names, please?
Can you have them come up to the microphones first?
Yeah.
And we do have a third microphone if you'd each like to come up. Dan, you have to press the button so that it goes from dull green to bright green first.
Dan Messier from AAM 15.
Israel Smith from Smith Buckley Architects.
Derek Reed from Krebs and Lansing, if needed.
Okay. So I'm going to swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Hands. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Okay. I don't know if some of you have been through this, but what we do is we take the staff report, which we've all read, and I'm sure you've read it, every word of it, and we go through it and we focus on the red highlighted questions from staff and ask for your responses. And, but I think it would be helpful, especially since we don't have visuals, to have you give us a little overview of what you're wanting to do. Brief, please.
Sure. So it's a little awkward. I'm used to presenting to a screen.
Right, I know.
But what we have here is an addition to an existing hotel. It is a guest room wing, no public spaces, and the design was submitted through the form-based code, and as I understand it at this point, everything with it is in good shape, and we're here for one particular item, which is the question of public entrances and versus operable entrances. And so in the packet there's a memo that I wrote on April 24th that sort of outlines the issue here as we see it. And so basically we're here today we're seeking review and approval under the alternate entrance compliance section of the ordinance. And so we have a building that fronts on Williston Road. It also has entrances in addition along Williston Road. It's also along the west side that's sort of facing a parking area, and that is connected with the pedestrian path that connects Williston Road area to sidewalk area to the existing main public entrance of the hotel. And so our approach here is we have this new piece of the building is all guest rooms throughout, including on the ground floor. The design of the facade meets all the form-based code requirements. The reason we're here in front of you today is we would like for those entrances to be operable entrances, which is sort of similar to what a residential apartment entrance would be like, versus public entrance, which would be like for a retail location.
Right.
And so there's criteria in the alternate compliance section, and we outlined how we think we meet that. And primarily it's around we have provided the entrances with the frequency that's required. It's really just a question of the door hardware and how it operates. And the approach design-wise is really to, we have an existing building, right? And it is not connected to Williston Road directly, the existing main public entrance of the hotel. So by placing this building here and arranging the site design, there's sort of a long sweeping curve that comes around from the sidewalk area. It takes you past a few of the sort of minor entrances that we are proposing to be operable and not public entrances along the west-facing facade of our building. And that sort of leads you right to the existing main hotel entrance, which is the porte cochere and drive-up area. And so our approach in doing this is to sort of create a connection that's pedestrian-oriented, but also visual, between that area near the intersection at Williston Road and the existing main entrance to the hotel.
So I have a question. In the report, and you just said that the hotel fronts Williston Road. How
Well,
is,
this extension, the guest room extension, there is a frontage on Williston Road, and
I see, but not the existing hotel.
no,
I see. Okay, I was confused. All right.
no. If you're familiar with the DoubleTree approach, you come through from the intersection. There's some interior driveways. You make your way around and set well back from the road is the existing main public entrance.
Okay.
And there's sort of a tree-lined meadow in between the building
Okay.
and the road. The form-based code requires us to build pretty much right on the street out there. And so the building is basically going on that tree-lined meadow.
Okay. All right. And there's no garage, underground garage?
There is not.
Not.
It's
Okay.
all surface parking.
Okay. For some reason, I thought maybe that was the UVM project, but
There was a garage associated
Okay,
with that
all right,
project, yes.
good. Great. I didn't see it in the
I don't know what
report,
happened
but
to that as part of the
okay.
withdrawal of the UVM application.
Okay. Any other questions, general questions before we dive into the report? Board?
How large is the addition compared to what exists now?
The addition houses 70 new guest rooms that are actually going to be replacing existing some 60-odd guest rooms in one of the earliest buildings on the site that will be removed. And relative to the existing hotel, how many rooms do you have currently? 300 some, right?
With the addition of 324.
Okay.
324.
Well, how does the area of what you're adding compare to the area of what
Oh.
when you say removed, you mean the structure
There's
with the 6 units will be removed or will it be converted to another use?
There's an existing building that is known as the North Champlain Wing. It sits on a spot where, if you're familiar with the previous UVM project, that's where that parking garage was going to go.
Okay.
Right. That oldest wing of the hotel that housed 60 some odd guest rooms was to be torn down and replaced with a garage. Here, when we're done building this new piece, then those guest rooms will be taken offline, and that structure will be demolished.
Okay.
It's really an obsolete wing of the hotel. Very low ceiling heights. Not
Now, is that if you're sitting in the dining room and the pool is there
yeah
and the little restaurant bar is there,
yeah.
is that the wing that's over there?
It's as you go around and then sort of down the hill towards the conference center. As you turn that corner, it's the building that's to your right. As you
Okay.
turn around that corner between the
Okay.
two parking lots. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So what we're here today for is the new building, right, which is going between the existing when you're on Williston Road and you look across from Staples Plaza and you see that face of guest rooms facing the street. This new building is going to go between that building and the road.
Okay.
And it will be connected to the existing hotel via a sky bridge that's going to go over the drive. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions before we move through the report? Okay, the first one just is a recommendation to the board to read the applicant's narrative. I'm assuming everyone has done so. The second comment is about the existing entrance and whether it fosters a build pattern of attractive, engaging, and interactive build forms and provides users with reason and interest to walk the entire length of the building and adjacent site amenities.
So there's some renderings in the packet. Israel, I hope it's okay. I pulled the renderings from the form-based code application into
Yeah.
this packet as well. So the one that someone has their computer unmuted. Thank you. The first rendering that's sort of sandwiched between two large pages is the one that was submitted as part of this application. But then I also provided towards the back some additional elevations and 3D
Yeah.
views.
The renderings that we submitted with the original application are helpful, but this one that we submitted with this alternate entrance compliance application shows a slightly different camera angle, so you can see the existing porte cochere that was sort of cropped out of the frame in one of the earlier renderings. The renderer was focused on the new building, and we wanted to make sure, and for this, that you can understand the whole sweep of the view as the pedestrian path comes around. You can really see the existing entrance, and our building is on the edge of that path and actually sort of steps back a little bit and starts to step down as we get towards the existing building with its massing, and sort of creates a few layers. And we have one entrance there that's sort of obscured by the trees, and then you can just barely see it around the corner of our building. There's another entrance there. And those, and again, we're proposing that these are entrances that, like an apartment building, guests can use them of the hotel with a key card, but they're not open like a public entrance in a retail environment.
Right. But the front door under the porte cochere will be open.
That's a 24/7 hotel
right,
entrance.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. So board, what do we think about the question posed in number 2?
You want to read it? You want to read it again?
Sure.
Since the board doesn't have it in front of them.
Does the entrance foster a build pattern of attractive, engaging, and interactive build forms and provide users with reason and interest to walk the entire length of the building and adjacent site amenities? Does the design foster this?
It's a difficult question to answer. This is what they're asking for is, it seems to be pretty obviously.
No, we're just not working actually.
Oh, here, use mine.
That kind of night.
And it's not as if this building, I think this criterion deserves minimal consideration. That's my bottom line, very minimal. And it's for several reasons. First of all, it's not as if they're on a boulevard surrounded by other buildings. This is, unless I misunderstand the site, it is, the site fairly described is this hotel, period, pretty much. Is there anything next to it? Any public facilities next to it or down the street?
We're pioneers. We're kind of an island out there. Yeah.
But what they're asking for, the particular relief they're asking for, is virtually a necessity to have a secure
Right.
public hotel. I mean, otherwise, it's sort of a no-brainer, I think.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about 2? Mark, go ahead.
Ezra.
Hey, Mark.
I agree with Frank on this one. I mean, I think if this building was being designed as a standalone building without the benefit of the main hotel, we would be reviewing this differently. I kind of look at this as sort of some of our similar comments we had on the Cathedral Square, where the requirement to have a public entrance, but the reality of the function and values of the building prevents you from having that. I think that, one thing I think you want to kind of, the code wants you to do it, but I think the reality of the project wants you to avoid it, is making it too welcoming. I don't think you want people from the public trying to get into these doors. You want it to be hotel guests that are staying there, coming and going. And I think that achieves it. You've got plenty of, site access, walkways, landscaping, as well as the areas that are indicated as being entrance doors. If we were looking at this as a standalone building, you say, well, there's no building name, there's no addresses, there's no thing that say a welcoming public invitation. But
Well, keep in mind that part's not necessarily true, right? Since signage is not the board's purview.
I know it's not the
Okay.
board's, I get that. Yeah. But I'm just talking about, like, you look at the elevation, and I would say there could be more things you want to do, but I think that would be detrimental to the actual function of the building. So I think it's fine as it is. You have public entrances, you have site access to it, and so I'm okay with it.
Okay. Any other comments before we move on? Okay, good. Number 3, staff recommends the board discuss whether they consider this criterion met. Looks like E and F, according to staff, are met.
So we're talking about D, so
D.
it's whatever's before that. I'll read it out loud if you want.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So the criteria is any proposed alternative shall be incorporated along all facades of a building for which alternative compliance is being sought and shall be distributed along the entire facade in a manner which meets or exceeds the average frequency and maximum spacing as required. And so the elements that they're proposing to meet the standard include the pedestrian promenade. And then the use, I guess, also of keeping the entrances, just the function of the entrances being different.
So our question is, do we consider whether this criterion is met?
Can I get that broken down, like which criteria? Is it the public entrances along the whole length of the facades? Is that where?
Well, this is a little clunky,
Yeah.
because when this was drafted, it was envisioning something instead of entrances, like sort of like they've done, like having a big promenade along the side or having like artwork incorporated along the facade of the building. And so the point of this standard is that it should be along the entire facade and not just, in lieu of a door or in lieu of, or only at the entrance, but it should be along the whole thing. And feel free to
Yeah, if I could,
interject.
I did a little thinking on this, of course, and the ordinance is sort of looking for, or written as if you were going to have an alternative to a door, right? We want doors. We have entrances, and some of them are more emphasized more than others. The one that's closer to the corner, you can't see it in this rendering. It's got a little canopy there behind the tree. We anticipate that's one that guests will use more often. It connects to the end of the corridor there, and it's closer to this parking zone right here. So in our approach, the alternative compliance is we're providing entrances, and we think using them as part of the overall design composition, and we have them in the frequency that meets the requirements and exceeds them in terms of the frequency. We're just really asking for the operability rather than the wide open to the public approach with the doors.
Okay.
And yes, there's a lot of site amenities and things like that we had with the site design that are reinforcing this. There's the sweeping pathway, the sort of, which, that pathway, you can't see it on this rendering, it's in the site plan there. It actually sort of divides itself with a little grass area in between, but both paths actually lead right to the porte cochere. Okay. There's a little bench and low stone wall there, so we're trying to sort of mark a little place here that gives some relief to that intersection and gets you here as a point, and then you can orient yourself, and there's the entrance over there.
Okay.
Quick question. The existing stone wall that's by that pedestrian, that's being pushed back essentially, right, and replaced with where the building's going?
I honestly couldn't tell you exactly where we are in relation to that existing stone wall, but that existing stone wall will be gone, and there will be a new low stone wall that's going to align to the face of the building. Yeah.
I'm just thinking it looks like you're increasing maybe grass space or whatever, not the sidewalk, right, but along Williston Road, there might be more room to walk right now.
Derek's nodding his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sidewalk width is basically staying the same, but the wall is getting pushed back, so it'll have more landscaping, so it'll have a bigger appearance. If that
I'm just
makes
thinking
sense.
if you've got 3 people walking by each other, right now, you have a wall there, and now you're gonna have a little bit extra room.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, you might be walking on perennials,
No,
but
no.
yes.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Okay, thanks. All right, that is the end of the staff report and the comments. Thank you, gentlemen. Are there any members of the public interested in making a comment, either in person here tonight or online? Do we see any? No. Okay. Hearing none, we will,
excuse me, I just made a comment on it.
oh,
This is,
sure.
this is
Tell us who
Michelle
you are,
Corpus.
please.
Yep, this is Michelle Corpus. I'm a resident of South Burlington. And I think this proposal to make the doors accessible only to guests makes a lot of sense. It provides a higher level of security to the guests themselves and to the property in general.
Right. Thank you. Are there
Thanks.
any other public comments? Okay. I would entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. You'll be hearing from us. Okay, our next application, site plan application SP 2420 of Burlington School District to amend a previously approved plan for an airport complex. The amendment consists of renovating an existing hangar for the use of Burlington School District's Aviation Technical Center, including reconfiguration of the parking and site circulation at 200 Da Vinci Drive. Are there any recusals or disclosures? No. Okay, who will be testifying? Okay, could you introduce yourself, starting with you, please?
Adam Frasino with McFarland Johnson.
What is your first name, please?
Adam.
Ed.
Adam.
Adam, thank you,
Sorry.
Adam. Okay,
And Jackie DeJess with EIV Technical Services.
thanks, Jackie.
With PCI Capital Project Consulting.
Jason Reed, the director of the Burlington Tech Center, if needed.
Okay,
Larry Lackey, director of engineering at the airport.
okay. And nobody else online? Okay. Okay, again, why don't you were here when I gave the spiel? Why don't we start with a little overview? Pardon? Thank you. We're going to swear you in. Thank you for the reminder. I knew there was something. Could you all raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Now, would you give us a brief overview of what you're wanting to do?
Sure. So the Burlington School District received a $10 million congressional grant a couple of years ago to build a new aviation facility at the airport. This facility will be going at 200 Da Vinci Drive, which is the hangar previously referred to as the South Hangar. It's the existing hangar that I believe Continental Airlines was in at one point in time, adjacent to the new Beta facility. There's currently 3 Burlington Tech Center programs that are planned to go in this new space. There's already a current adult ed aviation program that's housed in one of the facilities at the airport that will be going into this new facility. There's the Burlington Tech Center at 52 Institute Road had a high school level aviation program that also they're currently displaced at 2 Gregory Drive in South Burlington. That program will also be moving into this new facility, as well as the advanced manufacturing program, also within the Burlington Tech Center. That's also currently at 2 Gregory Drive in South Burlington. There's space for 4 programs. So there's 1 program that's yet to be defined. There's some, requirements that the school district have to work around based on what programs go in this facility that have to meet FAA requirements. But we are renovating the existing hangar to be a teaching and learning space, to have a combination of lab space and classroom space. I'm going to turn things over to Jackie to talk about the comment on the staff review questions.
Okay.
Great. So I'll just expand a little bit on the scope and give a little bit more description on the location. 200 Da Vinci Drive, as Marty mentioned, is adjacent to the new Beta manufacturing facility. It's also located in the southwest quadrant of the Patrick Leahy Burlington International Airport. Da Vinci Drive is accessed from Williston Road. The existing building is 1 story and it will remain at the height of 45 feet 5 inches. The components of the project include demolition of the current interior spaces, construction of new classrooms, shop spaces for teaching, an entrance with an exterior canopy, new restrooms, offices, expansion of the parking area, and the addition of a bus loading area. The existing airport hangar door will remain, and the adjacent 12,000 square feet of the building will remain hangar space. There will be 8 outdoor covered bike parking spaces and 2 interior bike lockers. We are before you tonight regarding the project site plan application. Additionally, we are in the process of submitting the following state permit applications. An operational stormwater 3-9050 general permit, which is currently under administrative review. We plan on submitting the individual construction stormwater permit application next week. And we have both a draft wastewater system and potable water supply permit application and an Act 250 minor amendment application that'll be submitted within the next few weeks. We appreciate your time, Marla, to provide us with the staff comments and notes. We received them late last week and met as a team. We provided a response over the weekend to the staff comments and have updated 2 of the plan sheets and submitted them for your review.
Thank you. Any questions at this point, board? Okay. So as you know, we're going to walk through the report and focus on the questions that are highlighted in red. Question number 1. This is about improving personal mobility access. I won't read it because you've read it. It sounds like, what are your thoughts in response to this?
Would you like us to read our response? Marla, just to confirm, was our cover letter provided to the?
No, so anything that's provided between the packet publication and the meeting just goes into the record. The idea is for you to sort of pretend it's like a handout at the meeting.
Got it.
So Marty can pull it up on the screen, which doesn't really give you anything right now. But he has the report and he has the additional plans and he can pull any of that up, and most folks have a laptop to look at it on.
Okay, great. We can't see, so I appreciate you narrating that. It would be great if you don't mind, Marty, to pull up the letter, unless it already is up.
I've done that, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So our response to the first question is we've added a walkway and crosswalk with signage to the site plan to provide the requested pedestrian access from the recently constructed Da Vinci Drive sidewalk.
Okay, can you show that, Marty?
It would be on the revised plan SPO1.
In the handouts.
I am showing it.
Okay, great.
Boy, this makes us appreciate the technology we usually enjoy. Okay. Any questions from the board? All right. Let's move on to number 2.
So we just responded to number 2 that the net increase in parking of 26 spaces is the minimum necessary for the school's proposed operations.
Okay. Questions, board? Number 3, this is regarding the pavement. Staff recommends the board ask the applicant to demonstrate that the proposed pavement is minimized near the entrance to Da Vinci Drive.
So the pavement width in this area is necessary for the operations of the Beta loading docks. This is an existing condition as that entrance was just paved last year as part of the Beta assembly plant project. This widened pavement is also necessary for the school buses to make turn movements from the bus loading area onto Da Vinci Drive.
It sounds like I was maybe unclear in the way I phrased that. I think what I was trying to get at is the pavement of the driveway to the expanded parking, because that makes the driveway really wide. So the pavement, the driveway itself is 24 feet, but then the entrance is like 50?
The way it branches out like that, that's part of the bus turning movements to get back onto Da Vinci Drive. The intent of the bus circulation is they'll pull into the parking area and then they'll face out, and then the students could come in onto the bus. Then when the bus is loaded, it would make a right turn.
So the buses come in by the technical center, not at the other end of the parking. Does that make sense? I'm explaining it.
They would come in on the other end of the parking
So
and loop around.
So they come in at the far north, I guess? Page left.
North, yeah, page left, correct.
And they come out at the right-hand side.
Correct.
So if that is as wide as it needs to be on the right, how come it doesn't have to be as wide on the left? You see what I'm saying?
We did run turn templates to enable that to work. We also, during high turnover time, I guess I'll call it, there could be multiple buses loaded at one time. So we do have enough space to go 2 buses wide, and that's where that extra pavement would be needed to come down. Also, it is a little confusing because it's shaded, but that is existing pavement that provides access to the gate into the aviation space for the hangars. I don't know if you're following
all the dark gray shading is
No, the dark gray is new, but the portion that's widened out is existing that would just be resurfaced to make grades work. Because if you look, there's a label that says existing security fence and gate to remain. That's a large sliding gate. There, you can tell me what gate 3? 13. Gate 13. So the airport needs access to that, and that'll be maintained for a variety of reasons: FAA, security, TSA, a bunch of other reasons. So that gate needs to still have access. I don't know if that answers your question, then, Marla, as well.
Yeah, so I can see in the plan that Marty has pulled up right now that there's just sort of a slightly lighter dark gray. And so you're saying that that's the existing pavement.
It is, yes.
Questions, board? No? Okay. Number 4, staff recommends the board ask the applicant to explain at what point the existing overhead utilities will be located underground, and consider requiring the utilities to be located underground at the upstream most pole that is impacted by the work.
The existing power service to the building is currently underground from the adjacent transformer, and this transformer is powered via underground conduits to the pole near Da Vinci Drive. With the installation of a new transformer, this same underground configuration is being proposed as shown on the utility site plan.
So where does it start being underground? At Da Vinci Drive?
What would be a good way to show this?
I think. So I'm going old school here, but this pole right here, that's actually right near the pavement we were just talking about. Currently, the underground service comes from that pole to the building, to the transformer right next to the building. So that transformer will be replaced, but we will maintain all that underground. We're going to reuse the same conduits.
Okay.
So the overhead lines end right here, which is kind of between our bus loading and Da Vinci Drive.
Okay. Questions?
says electric, right? I mean, on the pole,
That's probably part of the confusion. That's just a
Okay.
typo in the line style. It is underground.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Good catch, Charlie. Okay, 5, responses to the DPW comments.
Sure. Do you want me to read their comments first and then respond? Is that helpful?
No,
or-
we've all read
Okay.
them. Thanks.
So for the first one, we held a coordination meeting or pre-application meeting with the Water and Sewer Department after the submission of our Water and Sewer Engineers Report to the city, which resulted in the ability to serve letter that we included with our submission. I don't know if you have any further questions regarding that. They mentioned the wastewater pump station will remain privately owned, and we just agreed, correct? They also asked about existing oil, water, grease, grit separator. There is an existing oil water separator for the current floor drains, and it will be rehabilitated or replaced as part of this proposed project. When we met with DPW and discussed this project, they had questions regarding the kitchenette and if a grease trap would be required. The purpose of the kitchenette is to simply warm food, and there won't be any meal preparation. Therefore, a grease trap won't be required. And are there any water easements proposed to be transferred to the city? And our response to that was no.
Thank you. All right, number 6, the applicant is proposing an on-grade striped pathway from the parking area to the building. Staff recommends the board consider requiring the pathway to be raised by a curb and consider requiring a sidewalk connection and crosswalk to Da Vinci Drive as alluded to above.
So to follow up from the response for number 1, we did add the update to the site plan that was included. We did not include a raised walkway as stormwater runoff traverses across the pavement to the existing closed drainage system. So that would impact the stormwater.
Questions, board? It's, I guess,
Just wanted to, you know how many feet that crosswalk is going to be from Da Vinci Drive to the building?
Did you scale it?
The width or the
cross-
length?
The length.
Yeah, I guess what length? I don't know it off the top of my head, obviously.
Like a
but
couple
what
hundred
length-
feet though, maybe?
What's that?
A couple 100 feet, probably.
Yes. I mean, there's the 60
Depends where you're
scale.
going
So
to.
depend if you're saying from the front door of the building, essentially. to
Sure,
the
yeah.
Da Vinci, you're probably looking at, yeah, maybe like 250 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
any other follow-up, Marty?
No, I mean, it seems like a bit of a way to walk through a parking lot, you know. But if that's the only design that works, that's the only design that works, maybe. But that's my 2 cents.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up. So the crosswalk is coming down. Yeah, I know. I know where it is though. It's coming down through the existing parking lot, I guess, is what you're gonna, the bus and the truck turnaround, and then it comes across the roadway. I cannot tell where the catch basin is or where you're talking the water's going to be flowing from the crosswalk into existing stormwater.
Yep, so if
I
you-
see one by the pole. Is that
If you
where
look at the existing like triangular shaped hangar building, that asphalt next to that building to the right, page right of that building, it does sheet flow continuing to the right. And there's a if you're looking at SPO1,
I'm on.
or if you had the drainage plan, that's even better. But there's a square right at in the middle of kind of the loading dock. So all that water sheet flows into that drainage structure that was recently rehabilitated by Beta.
Right. Okay.
For their project. So it's an airport, so the grades are pretty flat out there. So any kind of raised surface would then create ponding to occur on that hangar side. Even if it was just a few inches, it would create ponding. So
You
You
could
look
not,
like you're pondering, Charlie.
you could not raise the sidewalk and put a curb and have it still flow over the curb into that catch basin. Is what you're saying?
correct.
Any other follow-up, Charlie?
No.
I think
Okay.
I'm seeing what you're seeing, Charlie.
All right, number 7. I'm going to read this, but I had some questions about this. The building is 34,000 and change square feet and is proposed to be used by 12 employees and 100 students. One short-term space is required for each 20 students of planned capacity, or 5 spaces, I don't get that. So for 100 students, there's only one parking space for every 20 students?
That's what the rules are.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't write the rules.
I know.
Take the bus.
Okay.
Can only assume that they expect they're being bussed in.
It's, yeah, I mean, you could also, I mean, just going off of my experience with code, I mean, this is a high school facility, but if you think about it from like an elementary school facility, you don't need a lot of spaces per student.
That's true.
Where here, there are going to be students driving, so that's why we are
I
providing
see.
more
Okay.
than
Yeah,
the
that
code
makes
requirement.
sense. Okay. So this VTC isn't involved with this at all.
VTC, Vermont Tech
Right.
Tech Center? No.
Okay. Right. Okay.
We do have an articulation agreement with Vermont Technical College, so they're a partner but not involved in that
Okay.
project.
Thank you. Because I saw their sign out there. They have something out there too.
Their professional pilot program is they do all their flying training at Vermont Flight Academy.
I
which
see.
would be on your
Okay.
page left.
Thank you. Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Frank.
Well, it says 2 interior bike lockers as well. How many bikes will be storable in the bike lockers?
One per locker.
So you'll be able to house 10 bikes for 100 students and 12 employees.
Correct.
Because we're a regional tech center, students.
Sorry, can you use the mic if you're going to testify on this project? Thanks.
Thanks, Frank. Because we're
Swear you in?
Yep.
yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
good.
Yeah. Because we're a regional tech center, which includes Burlington High School, which will be in the far north end of Burlington when that building is completed.
Jeez.
MMU, CVU, South Burlington High School, Colchester, Milton. Students will not be riding their bikes to school here, and I would also be concerned with the traffic on Williston Road for students to be riding. And we're a half-day technical center, so students have to get back to their sending schools quickly for the other half of their school day. So to ride a bike to school really is inconceivable. There could be a possibility that an adult aviation student used a bicycle to get to school there. But again, with Williston Road and the distance that most folks come from to attend the tech center, it's highly unlikely. And our employees, like myself, we have to be in multiple locations with our new configuration. So using a bicycle to get to work would be highly unlikely as well.
I'm missing a beat, but let me see if my inference is correct. What you're saying is students don't come directly from home to the center. They go to school first and then get transported from the school to the tech center?
That's correct, sir. If they use their transportation provided by their sending high school, the students who tend to come directly from home in the morning are students who have their own transportation and would be parking their cars.
All right. Do students spend the entire day there or just a portion of the day?
Our classes are an average of 2 hours and 20 minutes, so about half of their high school day. And that includes transportation time, of course, so a little less than half.
I understand. Thank you.
Marla, you were shaking your head, but
Yeah, just to be clear, I mean, the arguments that Jason has made, I think that the LDRs are set up the way they are specifically to circumvent the kind of arguments Jason is making. While students may not bike today, and while Williston Road is not a good road to ride on today, there are transportation improvement plans in place for improving bike lanes both in South Burlington and in Williston on Williston Road. And the more people bike, the safer it is to bike. Fortunately, we require there to be one space per 20 students, and that's a hard line. So it doesn't really matter. They are meeting it, and that's all that needs to be said.
okay.
But I just want to be clear that, we're not in the business of thinking about exactly users, but about the objectives of the city.
Right. So the last sentence in 7 says, staff recommends the board require the applicant to add short-term parking, bicycle parking to the plan proximate to a student entrance.
And
Or you're
and that
doing
was
that?
done.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, number 8. No parking lot landscaping is proposed. What do you say to that?
So we have updated the landscaping plan. Marty, if you don't mind sharing that, that would be great. It's LL02. Great. So this plan sheet has been revised to include additional plantings around the existing parking lot that will be expanded. The locations for the proposed plantings are limited due to the slopes between Da Vinci Drive and the parking area. So we tried to add as much as we could, but there are some spatial constraints.
Okay.
Can you walk through what you've added?
Sure.
I mean, maybe not the exact plants, but like where they are.
So the plants that were added were near the northern entrance. That's where there's a relatively flatter area, as well as around the bioretention area, because obviously that area has some flatter areas. The slope between Da Vinci Drive and the actual parking lot is quite steep today, and we're going to be putting some more parking spots in there and raising it up a little, so it'll still be too steep really to plant plants. And just to also be clear, there's not a desire to have certain species of plants on the airport because they attract wildlife, which is obviously a hazard to the aviation community. So we tried to stick to the low-lying grasses and shrubs, both in front of the building that were previously proposed, and then all these new plantings as well to kind of stay in those same species. So that's another consideration that wasn't necessarily part of our response, but important for the board to know.
Okay. Questions? And then number 9, I think, also relates to that. Anything to add for number 9?
So I guess as part of the code, when there's more than 28 parking spots, you should have landscaping. Previously to our revisions, there was no landscaping proposed. So we're doing our best to add some landscaping. And then it also mentioned some interior landscaping. But with the configuration of a single drive aisle with parking on both sides, there's really no opportunities for any landscaping islands. So that's kind of our response that we did not add, to full transparency, we did not add an island just because of the configuration of the parking lot.
Dawn, can I jump in here?
Sure.
So for number 8, the standard is to provide perimeter screening to mitigate the view of the parking lot from the public way, and to provide shade and canopy for the parking lot. I mean, what they've done does not really meet either of those two purposes. I think the thing with 28 or more contiguous parking spaces with 10% interior plantings, they may actually be fine on that criteria, but no calculation has been provided. Because if you look at the plan, Marty, if you could pull it back up again and kind of show the whole parking area, thanks. There's 2 sort of big islands in between the northeast facing section of the parking lot and the north-south facing section of the parking lot. So they may be fine on the 10%. And then, as we keep going, there's requirements for curbing around those landscape areas, except where specifically required for stormwater. And then I think that there's the shade tree requirement, which I don't even know that I specifically highlighted. So in 4, after staff comment 10, there's a whole bunch of things that are objectives that need to be met with the parking lot landscaping, which we didn't specifically highlight because there was nothing to comment on at the time. So I would encourage the board to look closely on whether they've really met the landscaping criteria at this point.
Thoughts, board?
Yeah, I guess one of my questions is you're not proposing, I guess, trees, right? You're proposing low shrubs. Is that your goal?
That's correct.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
low shrubs and grasses.
You're saying you're not proposing trees because it's an airport requirement? Because
It,
they just put trees all along the drive, right?
Let me say something. So along Da Vinci Drive and where this parking lot is, it's a very steep slope. So if you're, and it's a private road, but if you're driving along that road, you shouldn't be looking down at that parking lot. I would say it's not, you know, it's not safe. So, because it's down below the road 10 feet. So, and you can't plant trees on that embankment, so.
Other thoughts? Marla, it sounds like you're concerned about the landscaping.
I am concerned about the landscaping, and I'm concerned about the board's ability to kind of craft conditions that say these criteria are met once they have a chance to really read through them. You know, I think Larry's point may get to some of the stuff pertaining to comment number 8. To mitigate the view of the parking lot, you know, if it's not the purpose of perimeter planting shall be to mitigate the view of the parking lot. On other projects, the board has found that when there's a very steep slope, that's adequate mitigation. But I don't think that speaks to the 10% interior parking or provide shading or protecting the landscaping with curbing.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, it is steep slopes along most of it, but you know, in the northeast corner, where the closer to the flight academy, right? There is a relatively flat spot. I mean, you've got a 1312 and a 1311 contour that are separated. It looks like by 20 feet. It's, you know, 1 on 20, and then your driveway to the east. I'm trying to remember my directions here. You know, I don't know what you're grading your driveway at, but it looks fairly flat.
Are you referring to this area over here?
Yep. The first area was right in there, just south of that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that does have some trees and plantings in it as part of the land, as part of the Flight Academy's landscaping around
Right.
the building.
So then I guess I was south of the driveway, closer to where cars would be parked, right?
Yep. That's where we're proposing. That is the area that we're proposing some landscaping. You're referring to this area right here?
Yes.
Yep. I'll show you this one's smaller, but yeah.
Is a tree proposed there, or is it just
There's
shrubs?
no trees. So trees do attract birds and debris falling from them, from whatever leaves and things like that. And we do not want any trees on the airport side of Da Vinci Drive. That would just promote possible.
Is the airport asserting that's an actual public hazard, and they don't want that?
Any attractant to wildlife at the airport is hazard.
To the point where special grass seed is specified as well for seeding. So
Right,
that,
I understand, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to say, like, the airport is requesting that no trees be put on the property for public safety or airport safety.
I guess, I mean, I'm not familiar exactly. I saw the response, but we can take a look at that. Whether if we want to add a tree, we'll have to, you know, we can take a look at it and come back.
So can I make a suggestion? This applicant is scheduled to be heard for the other half, the other side of this coin at the next meeting. Typically, the board, when they receive kind of a big submission, it's only 2 plan sheets, but there's a lot to chew on here. The board continues the meeting, digests what they've been presented with, and then provides any additional feedback at the next meeting. So is the landscaping something that the board wants to sort of chew on? I'm hearing some concerns. I can provide an additional analysis of what's been provided and sort of synthesize that. Is there anything else the board wants to be kind of in that analysis for the next meeting? Lay it all out on the table.
I mean, I think we're kind of dancing around it, and Charlie started to outline it well, but just this specific, it sounds like, you know, the lack of trees currently, it's the slope, it's, you know, it doesn't comply with kind of potential risks for the airport purposes. So just laying that out more, if it's a slope situation, I mean, I would like to see a site plan of, you know, you maybe identify like this is where trees definitely gonna go. You know, this is a possibility, but in consultation with the airport, this area we can't put it there, or it's just one that's reasonable, just a little bit more analysis and how you guys got to proposing that, because based on the the LDRs, typically we're looking for those shade trees, and so if we're considering not having those, we need to kind of understand all the deciding factors there.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, I'd rather have you say the FAA is saying,
Yeah.
this is the clearance zone, no trees, right? And that's the reason, not we just don't want trees, because we're looking at photos of the area and there are trees right there. So it's difficult to balance that.
USDA, we'll accept that.
Sure, yeah, I mean, you point to the NRCS, whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll work with them and get their feedback.
Yeah.
We can beef up our response to that. I mean, we are talking about these parking spots literally butt right up against the security fence where
Right.
planes are feet away from the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
So we'll come up with
Yeah, there's plenty of trees on the Beta property. But whatever.
But that's
Oh.
they have a whole big giant building between
Okay,
that
right.
property and
All
the
right.
airfield. This is like right
And we also just had that application where we were told that all the trees like were removed and pulled further away from the building.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
this
Yep.
isn't sort of a contrasting, testimony.
So we will look at this again when you come back. So let's move on to number 10 about the curbing. Staff considers curbing will be required to protect adjacent. Oops, I lost it. Adjacent area is staff considers curbing will be required to protect adjacent landscaping except where the adjacent area is specifically designed as a stormwater collection or treatment area.
So to expand on that, curbing is proposed along the frontage of the building as well as on the Da Vinci Road side of the parking lot expansion area. Curbing is intentionally not proposed between the proposed work area and the GA hangar pavement areas because it would restrict the stormwater runoff from this area into the existing closed drainage system. The proposed work includes a stone line channel to direct the runoff to the proposed bioretention basin for treatment prior to entering the drainage system.
Questions, board? Frank, you looked.
Well, I can't visualize. I need Marla's response. I need staff response to understand the response. I need a staff response to the response.
I mean, sorry.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Since the landscaping is in question, it feels like maybe this is part of the landscaping is flux, and the comment around the curbing is about protecting the landscaping. So it seems like this is something that could maybe be queued up, or we need to look at again once we understand where the landscaping is going. I don't mean to just punt the issue, but
Yeah, I think, Jackie, though, I'm looking at the revised sheets you submitted and I'm still not seeing any curbing. So maybe if that could be a little bit more clear, that would be helpful. Because you said along the Da Vinci Drive side.
And to Quinn's point, if we add more landscaping over there, then maybe that's a good spot to add some curbing.
And then you said along by the building, and I'm not seeing it.
The curbing along the front of the building, it's a sidewalk curb combo. So along the front of the building, the existing building. So there's a bunch of landscaping, obviously, that is along the building.
Top of curb, bottom of curb elevations.
But there is a very short retaining wall between the parking and Da Vinci Drive that'll provide a buffer, but there isn't any landscaping proposed in that area. So if we are going to expand the landscaping area, we can look into whether the stormwater works with having curbing directed to the existing inlets. I'm talking primarily about the page left, if you're looking at the page, the north side of the parking lot.
Okay, number 11 also deals with landscaping, so I would propose that we put that off until the next time. Number 12, staff recommends the board provide staff an opportunity to provide an update at the time of the hearing. And this is regarding stormwater.
Oh, yeah. Never heard from her.
We did want to add to that that we had a pre-application meeting with the stormwater department, and we're happy to answer any questions, but there were no concerns during the meeting.
Sounds like a trust and verify situation.
So we'll look at that next time, hopefully.
I'll put a pin to, yeah, bug stormwater.
All right, number 13. We need demonstration of proof that a submission of an application for determination of no hazard has been approved.
So this is an existing building, and a submission of an FAA 7460 airspace analysis review is not required.
Okay.
I thought you said you were. I missed something in the original presentation. Didn't you say you were adding? You were in fact expanding the building.
No.
No.
So everything in your buildings within the four walls of the existing.
There's a front canopy that's going to be demolished and replaced. Just a decorative looking canopy, because the one out there now is not.
But no more enclosed space. In other words, the square footage of the space will be the same,
Correct.
and the volume
Square
will be the
foot-
same.
Yep, square
and
footage
the
is
height.
identical. Yep. Box is staying. The box of the building that's there is staying.
Okay, so no determination of no hazard is required. Number 14, there's a hotspot, illumination hotspot. Can you change that?
So that, sorry, do you want to read the response? Go
Oh,
ahead.
it's okay. Yeah. So we agree. So there was 3 closely spaced man doors with lights over each of the doors. So we removed the center door's light, and that has been submitted with the updated lighting and landscape plan.
Okay, thank you. Number 15, this is screening for the generator. We need to know the size, if it's adequate. And related to that, the next one is screening to screen the transformer.
So for the first one, at this time, the generator is expected to be roughly 8 to 9 feet in height, based on preliminary sizing, and the proposed plantings will partially screen the generator. For the second and final comment, additional plantings have been added between the transformer and the sidewalk, as shown in the updated LL02 plan. That might be up in front of you, I'm not sure. And we propose grasses similar to what's being proposed in front of the generator.
Questions?
And just to add to that, the transformer is about 5 to 6 feet in height. It'll be a little bit smaller than the
Okay.
generator.
Okay, good.
It's in front of the building.
Kind of the lower right quadrant of the plan. This area right here, if you zoom into that. Yeah. Okay, I can see.
Okay, any other questions before we move to public comment? Thank you. It was very helpful the way you were all prepared to respond to each comment, and thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So let's take a pause and ask if there's any public comment. I don't see anyone in the audience. Is there any online?
Doesn't seem like it, no.
Okay, thanks. So, I would entertain a motion to continue this hearing until June 18th.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mark. Any discussion? All in favor of continuing this hearing of SP 2420 till June 18th, say aye.
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 Opposed? No? Okay. The motion is carried. Thank you. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
in a couple of weeks.
Thanks for bearing with us on the screen. Hopefully we'll be
Yeah.
better equipped next time.
Okay, minutes of May 21st. I looked at them. Anyone want to chime in or make a motion? I will move to accept the minutes of
Second?
May 21st. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay,
And
other
I'm
business,
abstaining just because I wasn't here on the 21st.
other business, and we do have other business. So, come on, 5 minutes. All right, so I received an email from Jesse Baker, city manager, asking if we could provide some feedback to the council on the type of person or expertise we'd be looking for when the council fills Stephanie's position. And let me just read the 3 questions that the council or that Jesse has posed to us. What would you like the council to consider as they interview and select candidates? Are there skill sets, experience, or perspectives you think would add value to the work of the DRB? And is there anything else you'd like to share that would be helpful for them to pick a candidate? Because there'll be hundreds of applications. Just wondering.
Eating them off with a stick.
But I mean, I think it's helpful if they do have a couple who are competing, it's helpful for them to have feedback from us or input from us.
Right, and the council prefers to have at least 2, if not 3, and sometimes they will hold interviews until they get 2 or 3, so that, you know, if they get someone who really has no ability to read plans, they don't feel so bad saying.
Yeah. When is the deadline for the, or are they just taking them on a rolling basis?
The deadline has passed.
Until they find somebody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're gonna re-advertise specifically for
Okay.
DRB.
Understood. Okay.
So thoughts? What do you think would be helpful?
Well, ideally, another engineer.
Okay.
But if
What
not,
kind of engineer?
well, you know, a civil engineer would be appropriate most of the time, and failing that, some other design profession.
I think awesome if we got an architect so I can step down.
I was just going to
No.
say, we have our architect.
We are not going to do that.
I would
Mark,
also
you have
just
served extremely well, and we are eternally grateful for your service. But if you need to step down, we cannot hold it against you.
And in all fairness, Charlie's got
Yeah.
the engineering covered.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would put it out. I mean, just not to, but Dan Albrecht, when he was on the board, I thought his planning perspective was really helpful. Obviously,
So someone with urban planning.
background. But if not, I think another engineer is also helpful. I think there's been times we've had 2 lawyers on the board as well. Frank is obviously always incredibly insightful and articulate with those sorts of things. But, you know, those are my 3 kind of
Okay.
ones that come to mind.
Right. And John, you're an engineer too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chemical. It doesn't really count though.
Chemical. Okay. Well,
You know how to read
but
a plan.
You know
and
how
that
to
matters.
think it. Yeah.
Yes. And I also came from a board.
Experience,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
6 years on the
Yeah.
planning board.
From planning commission come to DRB for a term and then they can go back.
Oh, that's yeah.
What I was getting at, and it's just for to fill my personal deficits, I struggle. I look at a 2-dimensional plan, and it has far less meaning to me than it does to Stephanie and to
Right.
Mark, and I really need help with that.
Right. And I'm in the same boat. I have to focus on other things because it's Greek to me.
And Charlie picks up, you know,
It's amazing. Yeah.
the elevation just as a matter of, you know,
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Anything else? Any other input or thoughts or?
One thing the council has, or no, one thing we have discussed in planning and zoning is a breadth of lived experiences. And I think that is very well represented by this board today. But other committees are made up entirely of people who live in large single-family homes on their own lots.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We do have a good mix on the board. I appreciated that as
Yeah.
well.
Anything else? Good sense of humor? No. Going, gone.
I think honestly, like John brought to board experience and civic experience. I think if someone has any kind of previous civic experience, it brings that level of understanding of the process to the table.
Okay.
Michael, I'm not going to suggest it. Michael Bialma on economic development is a developer, and he could have some. And I know he's wanted to do this before.
Maybe you could reach out to him
Sure.
and tell him how much fun it is. Great. Well, if you think of anything else in the next couple of days, I need to have these comments to Jesse by Monday. If you think of anything else, just email me. But this is very helpful. I mean, this is basically what the kind of feedback we gave last year. So, but it's really useful for them.
Yeah, because the only thing I would say, and I don't know the fellow that you're talking about, but developers make me a little concerned just that people have to understand that on this board that you're not making the law.
Right.
You're interpreting the LDRs, and you might
Right.
not like what you're voting for, but
Right.
you're going to have to vote for it anyway
Exactly.
because it meets the code.
Right.
So it's not as much what I would like to do or what I would like to see is how well does it
Right.
meet the requirements.
Right. And it's not
And that's hard for some people to do.
Right. It's not about the merits of the proposal.
Right.
It's about, does it meet the LDRs?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're quasi-judicial. We're the
Right.
first
Right.
rung of the ladder.
Right.
But that it's hard for some people
Yeah.
that it's like, oh, I don't like that. I can't vote for that. It's like, well, if it
Well, I
meets
think
everything,
we
you
as
don't have a choice.
We as a community do a lot better job than I've seen in other communities of holding the line of applying the regulations.
Right.
You know, I sat on a board down south, and they appointed several activist board members who literally said, I don't care what the regulations say, I want this. And it just...
It defeats the whole
defeats
purpose.
the whole purpose.
Right.
I spend most of my meetings saying, you can't do that. You can't. Yes, you can. I was appointed.
Yeah, that
So-
sort of attitude erodes the public's
Yeah.
confidence
Right.
We had
in
one
the city.
board member that was trying to never realize they were in the wrong location and stepped down and went on to higher levels where they were
Mhm.
right the regulations.
Yep.
And that was respectable.
Right.
Because you can't do it when you're not at this point.
Right.
At this level.
And that's why court review is de novo from these boards.
Mhm.
Okay, just gonna step around whatever you have to say and we'll look at it fresh,
Mhm.
is what the court said. We don't like to be in that position.
Right.
And it's expensive for the applicants.
Sure.
I'll say my 2 cents is I think it's sometimes a little tricky to recruit for the DRB because people don't like rules and regulations. So
Right.
it's hard to. Typically when people are applying, they have that context that's at least what they're going to be dealing with, and I think that's why sometimes people shy away from it. So
Plus, it's a fair amount of commitment of time, the reading and preparing, and I mean, I don't have to tell you all that. You know that.
compared
So.
to some of the other commissions.
Right. So, okay, very helpful. Thank you. We will see you in 2 weeks.
You want to call official meeting end time?
Yes, the meeting is ending, and it is 8:24.